Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here, and welcome to a new Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video, we are taking a look at the Season 15 Seabound finale, Episode 16 of Season 15, entitled The Turn of the Tide. This video is going to be probably a little long. I got a lot of things to say about this finale, but in terms of this video review, what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be taking a look at a quick plot synopsis, then we're going to get into the good and the bad, and then finally, at the end of the video, I will give the episode a score out of 10. Also, there will be spoilers ahead for this episode. If you guys have not figured that out already, that has been your official spoiler warning. So let's go ahead and get into it. This episode is pretty heavy. Just got done watching it. Let's go ahead and talk about a quick plot rundown. The episode can basically be described as follows. The ninja fight against Kalmar and his forces for the final time as Nia decides to take on Wajira and has to make the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, that's basically a decent way of describing this episode. I think that pretty much summarizes it. I have a lot to say. Like I said, I just got done watching it and I'm feeling a lot of things right now, feeling a lot of emotions for a couple of reasons. First things first, I do need to touch on some good things, so let's go ahead and get started with that. Now, the first thing I want to take a look at here are the battles between Kalmar and various protagonists. We have three distinct battles that I want to take a look at. The first one being Nia versus Kalmar. It's very short, it's definitely not the meat of this episode, and it kind of carries over from all their feelings from the last episode. Really doesn't last all that long, but I did think it was worth mentioning. We do get a couple of really solid hits in from Nia with her new Niad form, or whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty cool looking form, has some unique powers. I also want to touch on Jay versus Kalmar. After Kalmar somewhat defeats Nia for the first time, I mean, Jay kind of loses it. He grabs Master Wu's staff and just charges in at Kalmar. I thought it was really cool how Jay just kind of charged in, no regret style. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. Just shows the raw emotion that Jay is feeling in this episode, but we'll get back to that sooner than later, don't you worry. I also want to touch on Benthamar versus Kalmar. Now, Benthamar versus Kalmar is actually, I guess, the biggest battle between the two. I really enjoyed how Benthamar was just out for Kalmar at this point. After everything that Kalmar's done throughout the season, Benthamar is just out for his demise, and I thought that was awesome. Benthamar wants what's right for his kingdom, for his deceased father, and he does what he can to defeat Kalmar. Now, obviously, Kalmar is actually defeated by the hands of Wajira, come to find out. Wajira eats Kalmar, pretty much Great Devour, Pythor style, I suppose, and we kind of saw it coming. The episode builds it up for sure, but after Wajira is kind of freed of Kalmar's imprisonment, she immediately turns on him, and I thought that was awesome, and all that has to do with Benthamar. So in a way, Benthamar kind of caused Kalmar's demise, but I just thought that that battle was really cool, really enjoyable, really raw and emotional for Benthamar as well. Also, the other ninja do some stuff too. There's a battle between the ninja and some of the leftover underwater snake dudes, and it's a pretty cool group battle. They kind of pan through everybody as Nia takes on Wajira, which I do want to touch on right now. Nia versus Wajira is kind of insane. Nia not only gains a lot of new abilities in her Niad form, she also gains this weird type of ability to transform into a huge water elemental dragon, which of course ties into the sets, which I was kind of wondering how exactly they would do that. Turns out Nia is the dragon. She can turn into this massive water dragon form, and she uses that new form to defeat Wajira, or at least fight her off. It kind of seems like a storm versus water type scenario. Wajira is definitely, I guess, showing a lot of attributes of storms here, as opposed to the water, which is more represented by Nia. In terms of the actual conquest and the actual defeat of Wajira by Nia, Nia actually destroys, it appears that she destroys one of the amulets, causing Wajira to basically overreact with the storm amulet, and it completely, I guess, disintegrates her. She is nowhere to be found afterwards, and Nia makes her presence known to the ninja as this new being. She's no longer Nia, she's something else entirely, and this is basically where the big departure comes in, which is the next very big thing that I want to talk about in this episode in terms of good stuff. I really enjoyed Nia's departure, and in terms of me enjoying it, I'm not saying that I'm happy that she's leaving. I'm saying that the scene is set up really well, and it's a really emotional scene. Of course, Nia in her new form, she needs some figuring out. She's not Nia anymore. She's basically the ocean. She's with the ocean, and I think that's entirely super mystical. I really enjoy that aspect of Nia's character now. I think that just creates for a better character overall. Someone that can explore those types of emotions. We've seen that before with other ninja and their elemental powers, but Nia takes it to the entirely next level. And I feel bad here for both Jay and Kai. They're both kind of in denial. Kai's trying to find alternatives to Nia, because of course Nia can't return from this form, presumably, and Jay is just trying to say his last goodbyes to her, which was kind of carried over from the last episode where Nia said her goodbyes to Jay. And Master Wu kind of chips in too, giving Nia some advice. I understand how Nia's feeling in this moment, and I think that's really cool. Of course, I do feel bad for Jay and Kai, but I'm glad that Nia found her own place. Even if that means not being a ninja for the time being, I still think she's happy. We can see that more towards the end of the episode as well. Now, the actual ending of this episode episode, they kind of hold like a little funeral for Nia, quote unquote funeral, and Jay is kind of, looking at pictures of them in the hallway, and of course Jay's kind of crying over it. I do indeed feel bad for Jay. There's also a really sweet scene between Jay and Cole towards the end where Cole tries to reassure Jay that it's going to be fine. Just shows that these two are best friends, and it just wrapped it up really nicely. With all the emotions that I was feeling already watching this episode, the Jay and Cole scene is definitely not, I guess, lowering those emotions of sadness, but, expanding on them, making them a little bit more pure, I suppose. I just really enjoyed that scene. And turns out at the end, everybody shows up. Literally everybody. You would get Jay's parents, we get Skylar, we get a whole bunch of other side characters going through the crowd. Everybody showed up for Nia's, I guess, ritual goodbye thing. I don't want to call it a funeral because she's not dead, but literally everybody's there. A lot of side characters throughout Ninjago. I want to go through that scene again and see how many people I can point out, but there is a very nice speech by Wu towards the finale where he kind of bids farewell to Nia, recognizes what she needed to do, and of course the episode ends with Nia in the ocean swimming against a bunch of whales, and she is finally free at last. Of course, the very final thing about this episode is a tribute to Kirby Morrow. This was unfortunately the last performance of Kirby Morrow as Cole in Ninjago at all, which is very heartbreaking. So I really enjoyed how they ended up giving him some type of tribute at the end. I thought that was really sweet. They did that with the island as well, and big props to the Ninjago team for making that happen. But going back to this episode, kind of stepping away from the realistic, depressing stuff here, I really enjoyed this episode. This big finale for Seabound I thought was really well done. In terms of bad stuff, I have nothing. I thought that this was a very solid finale, if not one of Ninjago's best finales, and I gotta think about how this ranks among the other seasons right now. But in terms of this episode, I think I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I think that's a very good score for this episode, just my opinion at the end of the day, but I thought that this episode was exceptional. A lot of really good things going on here, and yeah, very emotional one at that. So thank you very much for checking out this review, guys. That has been my review of episode 16 of Ninjago Seabound, entitled The Turn of the Tide. Feel free to leave a comment down below talking about what you think about this episode, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my review. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and check out the links down below in the description for my other forms of social media. As always, big shout out goes out to my Patreon supporters, including once again the marvelous Jan. Thank you guys so much for watching this video once again. My name is TannerFishies, and with that I bid you farewell.